Welcome. Welcome, my dear friends. Myself, Professor Dr. Deshpande, would like to welcome you all in my Ayurveda Academy YouTube channel. My dear friends, today I have taken a topic which is related with the physiology subject, which is very useful for BAMS, BHMS, and BPTH. That means Ayurveda, homeopathy, and the, of course, physiotherapy students. Because this question is asked many times in the previous examination question papers of physiology subject. So let us start to discuss about functions of middle ear. I have already uploaded many physiological related videos on my YouTube channel, so you can go through that videos. And there is also I have optic pathway. I have discussed that auditory pathway, how you can hear when the signals go from ear to the brain. Okay, but today we will concentrate only on the SAQ topic, or it sometimes can be converted to 3 marks or the 5 marks. The functions of middle ear. But I am not directly going to the functions, but I will discuss little bit about middle ear as such. Let us discuss first about the structural aspect, and then we will go to the pinpoint functions of the middle ear. So let us start to discuss about the functions of middle ear. Okay, so this is the structure of the ear. Here you can see the external ear, then this is the part of the middle ear, and then this is the part of the inner ear. So some important things I would like to note, that this is the auricle. Okay, this is the most important part that divides the external ear and the middle ear. This is the tympanic membrane. We are going to discuss about these functions of tympanic membrane as well, because this is the part of the middle ear. So you must note that this is a division from external ear to the middle ear. Okay, and in the middle ear, the most important are the small bones, the smallest bones in our body, that are called as the ossicles. We are going to discuss in detail about these ossicles also. This is a part of the middle ear. So tympanic membrane, one part, ossicles, second part, and Eustachian tube also can be considered as a part of middle ear. And then these are the all inner structures of the inner ear. The main important structure related with the hearing is a cochlea. There is an organ of Corti. Okay, this is the temporal bone, and all other things, semicircular canal. This is related with the balance of the body, and when you stand or when you walk, that semicircular canal fluid is maintaining the balance of your body. Okay, so let us start to discuss about in detail further middle ear. Middle ear is also called as a tympanic cavity, because there is a membrane, as I have shown you. Tympanic cavity is a small, narrow, irregular, laterally compressed chamber situated within the temporal bone. Where it is situated? In the temporal bone. Okay. Here you can see, this is a temporal bone, then this is a parietal bone, then this is a occipital bone. Actually, auditory centers are here. I am showing you here. This is a auditory center just above the ear. The numbers of the auditory centers where you can hear in the brain is 21, 22, and 41, 42. So you must remember these number of the centers. This is for MCQ. My dear friend, especially about BMS students, be careful, because from the first year BMS 2022 batch, there is NCRSM syllabus new pattern, and they started to include the multiple choice question as well. Multiple choice question is always related with some definitions, some terminologies, some numbers, some figures, mathematical figures. That everything you must remember. Okay, so that's why I have mentioned about these numbers 21, 22, and 41, 42 are related with the hearing concept, auditory. Okay, next. So this is a chamber, a small chamber. It is also known, this middle ear is also known as a tympanum. So a lot of middle ear is equal to tympanic cavity is equal to tympanum. Okay, and this is separated from the external ear, or here. Can you see this is external auditory meatus, external auditory meatus and external auditory canal. Can you see? This is what I am doing. And then there is a tympanic membrane. Then we start the middle ear. So tympanic membrane is a division in between external ear and the middle ear. Middle ear consists of auditory ossicles that I have already mentioned. The small bones, smaller bones in our middle ear, smaller in all over the body. If you consider the different bones in our body, these are the smallest type of the bones. Auditory muscles. These bones are also attached with the muscles, because there is a process of contraction of these ossicles. And the Eustachian tube that I have already shown to you. Okay, let us start to discuss about tympanic membrane. What is tympanic membrane? This is a thin, very thin semi-transparent membrane which separates the middle ear from external auditory meatus. Tympanic membrane is very important in the medical practice. When you start practice, there is many times there is an infection from the middle ear side, from inside, and that bacterial infection, a severe ear ache will be there, ear pain will be there, fever will be there, and inflammation goes on, goes on, goes on. And if it is neglected, sometimes it perforates the tympanic membrane. That infection bacteria, they perforate the tympanic membrane, there will be hole, and some pus discharge will come through that particular hole and you can feel that the child, especially it is occurring in the slum areas and in the children, and then the mother or the parent complain, doctor, see, there is some weight here I am feeling, and it is having fever, and some pus is we are feeling in that particular canal. So that is coming through the tympanic membrane, and that particular condition is called as a otitis media. Don't forget this word. Otitis media is a very common in our medical practice, which is also called as acute suppurative otitis media, ASOM. Okay, acute suppurative otitis media. Then why you should treat very exhaustively or extensively this particular infection? Because otherwise sometimes it can affect the mastoid bone. This is very dangerous. Here on the behind there is a mastoid bone, and that infection can reach to the brain, which can be a very, very serious condition, which is called as a meningitis, and that can be a fatal condition as well. So when I talked about tympanic membrane, Dr. Deshpande is always giving some practical tips for the medical practice, because physiology, pathology, medicine, they are all interconnected. Okay, so here now we are talking about the ossicles. So this is the malleus, this is the incus, and this is the steps. To the tympanic membrane, which bone is attached? This is also MCQ. Malleus bone is attached, not the steps. Remember this thing. Which bone is attached to tympanic membrane? Malleus. Malleus, incus, steps. These three names you must remember as the bones of the middle ear. Okay. They are attached to the muscles, tensor tympani muscle and stapedius muscle. These two muscles are attached to these bones, tensor tympani muscle and stapedius muscle. Okay. Functions of the muscle. What they do? Tensor tympani muscle, tension, pulls and keeps the tympanic membrane stretched and tensed constantly. This is very important, because then the tone is maintained of the tympanic membrane. Tone is maintained. Okay, it is very straight. It cannot what you can say, the losing its tone. So tympanic membrane is also maintained in a position by constant stretching with this tensor tympani muscle. Okay, this is essential for the transmission of sound waves, because sound waves are coming from here and they are going through the tympanic membrane, through the ossicles, to the internal ear. Okay, okay, which may reach any part of the tympanic membrane. Sound waves are get what you can say, the exposure to the any part of the tympanic membrane. Paralysis of this muscle, tensor tympani muscle, if it is paralyzed and tympanic membrane lost its what you can say, the composition and structure, then you will get some problem in the hearing. Okay. Functions of the next muscle, that is stapedius. Stapedius prevents the excessive movements of the steps. When it contracts, it pulls the neck of the steps backward and reduces the movement of footplate against the fluid in the cochlea. I will go back again to show you where the stapedius muscle. Can you see? Steps, and here is the attachment is a stapedius muscle. Tensor tympani is over here, and stapedius muscle is attached over here. And this prevents, sometimes it holds these steps to prevent the unnecessary, what you can say, the force on the particular next part. When it contracts, it pulls the neck of the steps backward and reduces the movement of footplate against the fluid in cochlea, because that is attached to the cochlea. Paralysis of stapedius allow wider range of oscillatory of steps, leading to the hyper action of the auditory ossicles to the sound vibration. Excessive movement will be there. Excessive movement. This condition is called as a hyper. Can you see? Hyperacusis. Hyperacusis. Paralysis of stapedius occurs in the lesion of facial nerve. When facial nerve is damaged, naturally this muscle also gets affected. Okay. Tympanic reflex. This is an important function of the middle ear. Tympanic reflex is an attenuation reflex. The word another is, this is a short note. I was telling about the functions of the middle ear will be the short note, SAQ, but this is another SAQ. SAQ inside SAQ. So that is tympanic reflex. You will be asked, what is tympanic reflex? What is attenuation reflex? These are the synonyms. Is characterized by involuntary contraction of tensor tympani and stapedius muscle in response to loud noise. This is a gift from the nature, gift from the God, that God has made such a beautiful design of the human being that there are many protective mechanisms inbuilt. That is called as inbuilt. Now we in the computer we put the antivirus, but here the nature has given you many type of the protective mechanisms. This is one of the important protective mechanism, tympanic reflex, because if you in the firecracks, for example, in the Diwali festival of lights in India, there are many on other occasions also. There are the people when there is a victory, they burst this firecracking is there. So atom bomb, for example. So loud noise, even the sound pollution, for example, all these can affect badly to our ear, and we get hearing loss. To prevent that particular hearing loss because of the loud noise of earthquake or any other things, then this tympanic reflex works. It has a latent period of 40 to 80 milliseconds. When both the muscles contract, that tensor tympani and stapedius, manubrium of the malleus moves inward and steps is pulled outward. Okay. These two actions results in the stiffness of auditory ossicle. They will be stiff, no movement. Excessive movement is another thing, and stiffness is like this. Hold, hold. We say all the time, hold. Hold means keep quiet as it is. So these ossicles are stiffed and transmission of a sound is decreased, because through these bones, the sound waves are going to the inner ear, to the cochlea, to the organ of Corti, to the auditory nerve. We want to protect. We want to protect inner ear. We want to protect cochlea. We want to protect organ of Corti. We want to protect the auditory nerve. And we want to protect our hearing capacity. To maintain, to preserve this hearing, tympanic reflex is protecting you from the loud noise or the sound pollution. Tympanic reflex is very important because it protects the tympanic membrane from being ruptured by the loud sound. It also prevents the fixation of footplate of steps against the oval window. That is a part of correction in between middle and inner ear during the exposure to the loud sound. It helps to protect the cochlea from damaging effect of the loud sounds. Contraction of tensor tympani and stapedius during exposure to the loud sound develop stiffness, like I have mentioned like this, stiffness, no movement of auditory ossicles, that is the bones, so that the transmission of sound into the cochlea is decreased. Now let us talk about next part of the middle ear indirectly, that is Eustachian tube. Eustachian tube, or it is also called the auditory tube, is the flattened canal extending from the anterior wall of the middle ear to the nasopharynx. It is opening into the nasopharynx in the throat. Okay. Eustachian tube connects middle ear with the posterior part of nose and forms the passage of air between middle ear and atmosphere. What is the main function of the Eustachian tube? It maintains the pressure on both the sides of tympanic membrane. From inner side and from outer side, the pressure is maintained by the Eustachian tube. This is very important function of the middle ear. Now, auditory pathway, sound waves, in short, I am referring this particular topic, travel through the external auditory meatus and produces vibrations in the tympanic membrane. This is the first event. Vibrations from tympanic membrane travel through the malleus and incus, and of course the steps, and reach the steps, resulting in the movement of steps. Movement of steps produce the vibrations in the fluid of the cochlea. There will be vibration. These vibrations, the sound vibrations, stimulate the hair cell. Where are the hair cell? In the organ of Corti. This is again MCQ. Organ of Corti is the main part in the process of hearing. Remember this. Organ of Corti. This name is for MCQ purpose. Thus, in turn, causes the generation of action potential in the auditory nerve fibers. When auditory impulses reach the cerebral cortex, as I have mentioned here, 21, 22, 41, 42. Okay, here, they reach here for the reception of hearing occurs. Now, thus during the process of hearing, the ear converts energy of sound, that is the sound is the energy, waves into the action potential, AP. Repeatedly, this is cell membrane physiology. RMP is converted to AP. Resting membrane potential is converted to the action potential in auditory nerve fibers. This process is called as a transduction. Transduction. Again for MCQ. These specific terms are for MCQ. Middle ear functions. Repeatedly, we are discussing all the time middle ear functions itself. Due to the pressure changes produced by the sound waves, tympanic membrane vibrates, that is, moves in and out of the middle ear. Thus, tympanic membrane acts as a resonator. The main function of the tympanic membrane, resonance of the sound, resonator that reproduces the vibration of sound. Okay. Vibration sets up tympanic membrane are transmitted to the malleus, incus, and reach the steps, causing to and fro movement of step where against the oval window. Oval window is a part of between middle ear and inner ear. Against the perilymph, again for MCQ. All these terms are for MCQ. Perilymph fluid, okay, present and scala vestibuli of cochlea. You please check my auditory pathway video. There you will get the details of these particular names. Where is the perilymph? Where is the cochlea, vestibuli? All these terms are discussed in auditory pathway. Now, next important function is impedance matching. Impedance matching. Impedance matching is the process by which tympanic membrane and auditory ossicles convert the sound energy into mechanical vibrations in cochlear fluid with minimum loss of energy by matching the impedance offers by a fluid. Now here, in 1 second, I will tell you, when you talk anything, when the sound waves are there, they can easily pass through air medium. Now I am talking to you, so air is a medium. Now, for example, here, hello, 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 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Now here, hollow space and air is there. Hollow space, hello, hello, and air is there. Sound waves are passing. But consider, for example, here is some fluid. So when fluid is there, that speed of sound waves, intensity of sound waves reduces. In the water medium, in the liquid medium, in the fluid medium, sound waves cannot pass that much easily as like air medium or the bone medium. This is a very important concept you must understand. And here, that is, impedance is a hurdle. Impedance is an obstruction of by which there is a fluid in the inner ear. I'm talking about not in the external ear, not in the middle ear. Fluid is in the inside of the inner ear. Do you understand? And that sound waves have to go through that perilymph, that fluid, and naturally there will be problem. So what, again, this is a skill of the nature, skill of the God in making the human body, that they are putting such a impedance matching, means they will match the inner necessary inner intensity and outer intensity. The sound is amplified inside. Carefully listen what I'm telling you. Sound is amplified. And why it is amplified? Double, more intensity. It is going inside with more intensity. Why? Because the God was knowing that inside we have kept the fluid. So sound waves, when will be doubled, it will be again come back to the normal when they will pass through the fluid. Cochlea will not be damaged. Inside, after tympanic membrane resonance, the sound waves intensity will be doubled, but again it will be reduced in the fluid, and that will be matched as per necessity of the human body. Are you getting my point? Sound waves are easily passed through the air and not with the fluid. And that's why fluid is a type of obstruction for the sound waves. But nature has done its duty very properly. Inside, the sound intensity is doubled, and automatically with the fluid, it comes back to the normal. Okay, this is in short about impedance matching. Impedance means obstruction or opposition to the passage of sound waves. When sound waves reach inner ear, the fluid, what is fluid? Perilymph, MCQ. In cochlea offers impedance, means obstruction, and fluid resists the transmission of sound wave due to its own inertia, laziness. Fluid don't want sound waves to be passed. tympanic membrane and auditory ossicles effectively reduce the sound impedance. That obstruction is counterbalanced by the tympanic membrane and ossicles. Sound waves are conducted from external ear to the inner ear with an impedance of only 40%. Remaining 60% of sound energy is developed in tympanic membrane is transmitted to the cochlear fluid by ossicles. Thus, along with the help of tympanic membrane, ossicles match the impedance, that is obstruction, offered by a fluid to a great extent. It is because the ossicles acts like a lever system, so that steps exerts a greater force pressure against the cochlear fluid. This results in generation of vibrations in a cochlear fluid. Okay, the increased force is very essential to set up the vibrations in cochlear fluid because higher inertia of the fluid. Force exerted by the footplate of the steps is a bone, on cochlear fluid is 17 to 22 times greater than the force exerted by sound waves at tympanic membrane. That means the sound waves coming on the tympanic membrane, for example, by 1x force. But the steps, boom, pushing the perilymph 22x. This is tympanic membrane pressure, sound waves coming 1x pressure. But when the steps pushing that perilymph is at 22x. Do you understand this? Okay. It is because of the two structural features of the ossicles. What is their interesting thing in the ossicles? Head of the malleus is longer than the long process of incus, so that a higher force is generated in small structure. The bones are short, but the structure is that it can give more pressure. Surface area of tympanic membrane 55 square millimeter is larger compared to that of footplate of the steps. So the pressure increases when force is applied to small area. Naturally, when you apply a pressure on over our hand, it will be spread. But if you apply pressure only over here, smaller area, pressure will be definitely more. Thus, the tympanic membrane and auditory ossicles are capable of converting the sound energy into mechanical vibrations in cochlear fluid with minimum loss of energy, minimum loss of intensity of sound. Thus, tympanic membrane and auditory ossicles are capable of converting the sound into mechanical energy vibrations in cochlear fluid with minimum. The same sentence I have made a double because to understand it very clearly. Okay. Impedance matching is the most important function of the middle ear. This is again MCQ in the oral. The examiner will be asked which is the most important function of the middle ear, that is impedance matching. Okay. Because of the impedance matching, the sound waves, that is the stimuli, are transmitted to cochlea with minimum loss of energy or intensity. Without impedance matching, conductive deafness may occur. Okay. Conduction types. Conduction of sound from external ear to the inner ear through middle ear, three ways are there. Number one, ossicular conduction, bone conduction, air conduction, and bone conduction. This is from the external. This is from the inner. Why double? You said, so this is same, this is same. No. This is ossicular means middle ear bones, and bone conduction here from the external. This is a mastoid bone. Okay. Ossicular conduction. Ossicular conduction is the conduction of sound waves through the middle ear by auditory ossicles or bones. In normal condition, the sound waves are conducted through these auditory ossicles. Air conduction is the conduction of sound waves through air in the middle ear. If the ossicles chain is broken, conduction occurs in an alternate route. There are two routes of air conduction. Air conduction is common in otosclerosis. Otto bones, sclerosis, damage, degeneration. So when these bones are because of maybe aging process or trauma, any infection, these are damaged, then air conduction is taking care of compensation. Otosclerosis is the disease associated with fixation of steps to oval window. It is very hard and there will be no flexibility, elasticity lost. Bone conduction. Bone conduction is the conduction of sound waves through middle ear by bones. It occurs when middle ear is affected. In this type of conduction, sound waves are transmitted to cochlear fluid by the vibrations set up in the skull bones. Okay. Bone conduction is tested by placing vibrating tuning fork or other vibrating bodies directly on the skull here, on the mastoid bone, tuning fork. This is a specific test, Rhine's test, Weber's test, Schwabach test. You please check my clinical examination videos, and in the nervous system video, you will find this how to test the hearing. This route plays a role in transmission of extremely loud sounds. Okay, my dear friends, this is all about the middle ear structure, and middle ear functions. I hope you have got interest in this particular, or you have enjoyed this video. So please like this video, of course, the share to your all friends, and don't forget to subscribe my YouTube channel with pressing the bell button icon. You get the intimation of my newly uploaded videos. I am very thankful for your cooperation and support. Thank you very much, and all the best. We will see you in the next video.